as I go through the presentation, this is not everything going on in your district. There's a lot of moving parts. But this is some of the, I guess, some broad things that we know that are happening or will be happening very soon. And then once we get through that part, then we're going to be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Like I mentioned to you earlier, don't know if I know the answer, don't know if I can solve every problem. I wish I could. But we certainly are going to do everything we can to be accountable and transparent in trying to help you, because this I know, and I know Mr. Pugh and Mr. Lucas feel the same way, you pay our salaries. And we should do everything we can to do the best job for you. And so let me begin with what's going on in your district. The next major project that you will see coming, in fact, I signed the contracts this morning with GFC. They're going to be moving forward on the realignment of Hargrove and Skyland. They recently were awarded the bid. As you know right now, when you come down Hargrove Road and you reach Skyland Boulevard, you take a left and then you have to take another right. This will realign the intersection so that the intersection will be seamless. This is a project that actually, the first engineering drawings were considered back in 2001, but quite frankly, the acquisition of right-of-way, the site for years was a gully and was only recently filled in. So this gave us a great opportunity to be able to address this problem. We worked a partnership with the property owner in terms of him donating right-of-way and us in terms of realigning the road. And that saved the taxpayers about $500,000 on the project and made it possible for us to be able to do this project. It's a safety project first. This intersection has had a lot of issues over the years, and I'm really very, very happy that we've been able to move forward with this. Construction window will probably, you know, they say they can get it done, the majority of it done by September 30th. I've been doing this long enough to know, you know, I would think you would probably see a window sometime this fall, depending upon weather. And fortunately, we've had some dry weather. So this is a very good project, and if you've seen Prince Avenue or 25th Avenue East in Alberta, it's similar to those projects. It's aligning those intersections and getting rid of another intersection, which should improve safety in the area. The next project, which is substantially complete, you've probably seen up and down Hargrove Road, is the realignment of Hargrove Road and James I. Harrison Parkway. This project came in under budget pretty well, and also it should be open to traffic now, but the finishing touches should be done within the next 6 to 8 weeks as we close out the contract. We believe it eliminates that huge issue we had up there in that T intersection, and I think over time it is going to improve safety and the use and flexibility of Hargrove Road. Good news is coming too, I'm going to mention in a second, but in terms of paving, there will also be some paving done from about that area all the way past Idlewood as you go back up towards Loop Road. So that's some more to look forward to in the coming weeks and months ahead. Now with that will obviously come the delays you may see from time to time. This has been another great project in this district. As I referenced to, the citywide street resurfacing project, we just led a $2.7 million repaving contract. You're going to begin to see the city over the next 3 to 4 years get really aggressive on paving. For several years, we held our powder, so to speak, because we had so much debris removal and construction related to the tornado. We didn't want to do a lot of paving because those big trucks tear up roads. So we kind of held in abeyance or just did a little bit to get us through. Now we're about to really begin the acceleration. You will see it not only in your district, a lot within the 12% of the city that was impacted. Another major accomplishment for the city, some of you may be impacted by that, and that's being in floodways. The city has been working with FEMA really since the tornado on areas of our city that have been designated floodways, having them remapped, and then having those areas that are out of the floodways now be designated as such, which saves the homeowners a lot of money each year not having to purchase the flood insurance. The woodland forest area has really been impacted by this, and so some of you probably have seen a positive impact by this. If you yourself are experiencing this and have any questions, what I would recommend that you do is either fill out your form and put it on there, or tomorrow just call 311 and ask for the city engineer's office. We're doing a lot of this across the city, and it's a very practical way that the city can help the residents of this city. Another project that's close to here that we just wrapped up is the Beach Hill Sewer Project. This one wasn't planned. It was one of those that became an emergency pretty quick. So the city just wrapped up that project. It affected about 7 or 8 homes directly, but the entire neighborhood's going to benefit by a much better sewer distribution system in the area. To give you a sense about Tuscaloosa 311, this is something that I've been very proud of, and I've been very proud over the years that the council has supported this. I think it's one of the best links that we have between you and the city of Tuscaloosa. Last year, we received 88,717 phone calls directly into the call center. Out of that, 26,109 work orders were generated. So when that work order is generated, it's electronic, it goes to the department. It also alerts the department if the work order is not filled or completed. Every Sunday morning, I get a list of every work order from the prior week that goes unfilled, and part of staff meeting is going through the unfilled work orders to understand why a particular work order hasn't been filled. So this is something we take extremely seriously. If you've got a concern, 311 is your best option because it puts it on file and it allows us to be able to track that information. Now this list here are the top 10 service requests from your district that we issued in 2014. And it may be tough for some of you to see, but overgrown grass was the #1 service order that was issued in District 6 last year with 270. The repair of a garbage cart was second. Requesting a recycling bin was third. A broken water meter was fourth. Requesting a new cart was fifth. Your trash pickup was sixth. Stray animal was 7. Broken water line was 8. Missed garbage pickup was 9. And code violation was 10. The total number of service orders that we received overall were 3,479 from your district. So this data helps us in budgeting. So when you use it, it's a great tool, and even at times they will call you back to make sure you're satisfied with the services of the city. And they're all ladies. I know all but one are ladies within our call service. They're an amazing group of public servants. They do an outstanding job for the city. I'm very, very proud to work with them. I also wanted to prove or show you your crime data as it relates to the number of arrests that we've had in your district, not calls, arrests that happened in District 6. We call these the top 5. So you had burglary, breaking into a vehicle, robbery, auto theft, and homicide. And you can see that we had 92 in arrest, 136 on UB&E, 17 on robbery, 12 for auto theft, and 1 for homicide. And then you see how it compares to the citywide numbers. Some of this is also influenced by, and I meant to look this up before I left the office and the day got away from me. It's either District 6 or District 7, but Walmart influences this. They have a lot of the, as you can imagine, the auto theft and unlawful breaking and entering. There's just a large area where there's a large number of cars. That may skew your numbers, and I apologize for not having that information before coming in here. This is from January to June, and you can see as of right now you've had 30 burglaries, 47 UBEs, 9 robberies, 7 auto thefts, and no homicides. So you, as compared to a lot of other council districts, are in extremely good shape in terms of crime. I will say this as a caveat. The legislature next week is about to go into special session, and they're going to be looking at the general fund budget. That impacts you, and it impacts law enforcement. If the issue with corrections and mental health are not resolved, those will cause increases in crime. PD spends a lot of time arresting and rearresting, and so does the sheriff's office, the same individuals. Many of these individuals have mental health issues, and they, quite frankly, need to be somewhere where those needs could be addressed and not in the metro jail. If the state abdicates its responsibility to address these, it does have local impacts. And please encourage your legislators to make sure they address these issues. I don't want to take up all your time, but that is a real challenge that we face every single day at the Tuscaloosa Police Department. And if the legislature can help get the budget crisis solved, it will make all of Tuscaloosa safer. In terms of fire calls, we had 1,736. The vast majority of these are your rescue-oriented calls from the district. The last thing that I wanted to show you is to let you know that your city is being great stewards of your money. The city has done an amazing job of being able to do multiple things, and especially when you consider the tornado of April 27th. Since the tornado, the city's had to cash flow about $40 million. We did it without ever borrowing a dime. We did it without raising taxes. And we also have done it making sure none of our employees were cut. We never even missed a payroll every week. So the city has kept its financial wherewithal to do that. When it's all said and done and the last checks are paid out, the city will probably be out around $8 million. And that would be our share of the disaster and what FEMA does not reimburse after a disaster. Right now, on top of that $8 million, FEMA still owes us around another $5 million. So we are still carrying that burden. And the reason why I share that with you is we've been able to continue in a very strong fashion, and we have one of the lowest tax rates in Alabama. And what I mean by that is this. You pay right now 9 cents of tax. 4 goes to the state, 2 goes to the city, and 2 goes to the county. And a small portion of that 2 goes to the city of Tuscaloosa, about 0.25%. So if you count even the county's portion, the city's sales tax rate is 2.5%. Birmingham is 4, Montgomery's 3.5, Mobile's 5, Huntsville's 4.5. So you can see versus the other cities that we're compared against, we are doing a great job. If we had Huntsville's, it'd be like cheating. I mean, you wouldn't have one problem in your district. You might have gold mailboxes. I mean, it would be amazing. But if you take the top 20 cities in population, we're still the lowest. So your council is doing very well with its resources, and I think that can be a point of pride. Even through the tornado, our credit rating has never been decreased. And here's a little fun story, and then I'll close and take your questions. On the Monday following the Wednesday tornado, Moody's and S&P scheduled a conference call with us. They rate our credit. And though they did ask if we were doing okay, they wanted to make sure we could pay the bills. And that's how serious we take it, the responsibility of managing your tax dollars. And our council does a good job. I know sometimes you open up the paper and all you see is what the city spends. And that's sure, you should know exactly what you spend. What never gets talked about is all the other great things that we're able to do to protect your tax dollars and to continue to operate a very large and complex operations. We're in budget season now. We have we actually have 5 sweepers at the city. 4 are active, 1's in reserve. We've got to buy a new one this year. It's about $250,000 to buy a sweeper. So it is an expensive endeavor. And so I certainly want to find out. I believe our sweepers are GPSed, and so we know the routes in them. So we certainly can follow up and make sure. If you haven't been, we will get you caught up, and I apologize. You should have I think our goal is 3 to 4 times a year, if not more, on streets. Ask 311. We ask Alabama Power to go in and evaluate it. The city has metrics by which we put up lighting, and if it fits within that metrics, the city will put the light up and incur the cost. So we will certainly follow up on that. I think that in terms of the service we provide, I think it's outstanding. I think the number of people that participate, it's quite disappointing. I would guesstimate that we probably have less than 15% participation citywide. And we need, I know people had some heartburn when we went to once-a-week garbage and we went to universal recycling. Now, many of you probably already had recycling, but at the time, the majority of the city did not. And so we extended that citywide for 2 reasons. Number 1, just good stewards of environment. Number 2, the tornado took up several years of life within the landfill. And so we needed to decrease the amount of waste that was going into our landfill, and encouraging recycling we felt was a good way to do that. I've actually got a budget hearing tomorrow with our Environmental Services Department. I want a new strategy. What we're doing is people are not participating. And we just can't say it's your fault they're not. I mean, you know, we're obviously not connecting well and explaining the importance or how easy it is. And so we're going to do a better job. I use this example, and I'm sure those of you that recycling could echo it. I have 2 children, 1 in diapers, you know, so I've got a family of 4, and we recycle, and we never have a full garbage cart. So it works, but people are, you know, we just don't see a lot of participation. I know none of you like paying anything, water bill, garbage bill, but your water rates are the 4th lowest in Alabama. And that's amazing considering, especially with what's going on in terms of regulation that we're up against every day. And our garbage, recycling, and trash is the 4th lowest in Alabama. In fact, the city subsidizes about $2.5 million of cost a year. So your fees only pay for about 3/4 to 5/6 of the cost of the entire program. So we do that. It's a tax break. It's kind of a back-ended tax break. But we need, if we're going to sustain that tax break, we've got to get more people recycling because it loses money. It doesn't make much money. We probably made $300,000 to $400,000 off recyclables, but the program costs far more than that. So we really got to get people into it and excited. And if you got any ideas, hey, I'm open to them. We certainly need them. One of the strategy failures we've had in it is that we kind of approached this like the seatbelt law 15, 20 years ago. The seatbelt law got going because they went into the schools and the kids convinced their mamas and daddies to get the seatbelt on. So we kind of thought, well, let's do that with recycling. We'll get the kids to guilt the family members and the grandmothers. It hadn't worked, and so I think we're going to have to do something different, and that's going to be part of our budget hearing tomorrow. Is we've got to do something to encourage, and it's just not, you could say, well, maybe it's in the low and moderate income neighborhoods, but it's not. In fact, what we see is in our low and moderate income neighborhoods, higher participation, and that is actually not in the national trend. So we're not doing something, and you're right. We haven't probably communicated that effectively, and we've got to go back and think about a different way to address it. Well, the council has given us a huge benefit, and that was they approved after the tornado with our insurance funds from one of our facilities that was destroyed was our environmental services. They gave us the ability to have a recycling plan, and so that now we've had that under our belt now nearly a year, and we're getting good at it. So now we've got the infrastructure to do it. Now we've got to go out and communicate it better, and we definitely will be looking at successful cities. The city is about to work out an agreement with ALDOT to switch maintenance of University Boulevard and 15th Street. Right now, the city has maintenance of 15th Street, and the state has maintenance of University Boulevard. If you'll notice, the recent paving on University Boulevard is because part of our agreement was they bring the entire stretch of it up to city or state code before we took it over. The reason why we agreed to that is because 15th Street is going to cost a lot of money in the years to come. There's 3 bridges, 1 pedestrian crosswalk, and so the state is willing to take on that liability. The city had always had an understanding with ALDOT that that bridge was going to be under an accelerated and incentivized contract. Even the ALDOT district office believed that to be the case. By agreement, we all last year waited to after the Auburn game to begin the demolition of the bridge. Unfortunately, and no one knows the answer why, the contract and bid and contract that came out of Montgomery did not have that. So the actual contract could go to February of 2016. The contractor believes that he can, if the weather is right, go to, could be done as early as December. It's going to create havoc for Alabama football. You're going to be mad. I'm going to be mad. We're all going to be mad. We even looked at, I can tell you how serious it has been and how it's been on everybody's radar. Several months ago, myself, members of our state legislature, the university, met with ALDOT and said, okay, a mistake happened. Let's all put up some money and see if we can incentivize this to get it done quicker. But the problem that we ran into and we could never overcome was the bid law of Alabama. The bid, I know I'm going into the weeds, but I just want you to know we really put a lot of effort into trying to rectify something that we didn't even create. The bid law doesn't allow you to go above 10% of a bid. And that bridge was around nearly $5 million. And to incentivize it would go above the 10% rule. And there's just no way around that. So none of us could go in and incentivize it. And the law's there for good reason. It's so contractors don't underbid and then come back and reach a side deal. But we're trying, and I'm sorry. It's frustrating. I say it's frustrating, but I know for many of you, it is downright frustrating, and I'm sorry. Today, the City Council provides $4.2 million in a straight appropriation to PARA. When I took office back in 2005, we provided about 2.8. So there's probably not even a city department that has seen that type of percentage increase. PARA does have an issue, and the issue is they're funded by the city. They also receive 3.1 from the county. It funds generously. Where we will likely need help in the future is from the city of Northport. They fund about $200,000 a year to PARA. And they're probably 20 to 30% of the users of PARA facilities. So and we've had very good discussions. You know, for several years, Northport was in a financial straits. They have, I believe, gotten it straight, and we hope in the coming years that they're going to be more of a partner in helping to fund PARA that will help reduce those rates, because the thing about PARA, it's not supposed to be a city, county, or Northport. It's supposed to be just PARA, and we don't look at political jurisdictions as it. But unfortunately, we don't have all three putting in at the levels that need to be put in, quite frankly. I will tell you that I believe the city does an extraordinary job of funding its park system, and quite frankly, the library too, and several others. And I'm very proud of that. Now, the issue about when someone builds a facility of making sure that the operations follow, that's a very valid point that PARA has, and they're right. Many times you have jurisdictions that build a center and they don't increase the operating side. And that's another issue facing PARA that we've discussed. And they're going to have to hold jurisdictions to the fire. Because what happens then, if that happens, what really happens means is the city subsidizing that. And that means we have less opportunities to put a new pool here at the Maccabee Center. So those are good discussions that we're having. This year, if our budget goes the same, I'm going to budget another increase for PARA. And we need to make sure that happens. But PARA, one thing I'm saying too much on this. We've either, as a community, have got to commit to PARA, all three of us, seriously. And when I say seriously, with our pocketbooks, because ultimately that's what it is. If not, we're going to have to figure a new direction. I am hopeful and confident that we can all three work together and do something really well. And the county and city has been doing that, and I think we can bring Northport into the fold as well. Let me close by kind of telling you what I think we're about to see. We're in the midst of the budget. The city has two budgets, $132 million. It'll be about $134 to $135 million general fund budget. That funds everything non-water and sewer. And then we have a $47 million water and sewer budget. So those are the two things that we're currently working on. Right now, our budget surplus on the general fund side is around $2 million new dollars, which may sound like a lot of money, but it's not. The economy is growing at a rough rate of about 1.5% to 2%, which is not a lot. And we're sales tax driven. That's how the majority of our discretionary dollars come from sales taxes. So it's going to be another one of those tight budget years. And so we're debating a lot of things right now. On August 25th, I'll be presenting that to the City Council. It's about an hour-long presentation. I encourage you, I know you think this was boring tonight if you really want something boring, but actually it's very informative. It's the city's budget presentation to the council. Please, if you get a chance, and it'll be on our PEG channel, watch it. I think it'll, a lot of times you may wonder, why is the city building this sidewalk there? Well, a lot of times it may be through a grant, and that's the only thing we could spend it on. Or there's always different things, and there's always more to the story sometimes. I'd encourage you to watch that because it'll give you a good idea of what we're going to be investing in, what we're going to have to do to get through another budget year. The other thing that I will also encourage you is, if you do shop in Tuscaloosa. Right now, we're losing about 5 to 7% of our revenue from internet sales. Now, you may say 5 or 7% is not a lot, but in the city's budget, that's about $7 million. If we had $7 million, getting a pool over here would be easy. So every time you shop, try to shop here as much as possible. The good news is, with the new Shops of Legacy Park coming on board, that should help us. And if you do buy off the internet, if you decide to do that, I try to convince everyone I know not to. Try to convince them the internet's a fad, but they don't believe me. Buy from a local store. Because if you buy from a local store, then they have to pay local taxes. Buy local, it makes a difference. 5% may not sound like a lot. That's the difference between funding a new activity center or getting 2 new pumper trucks or whatever it is. So it makes a difference. Thank all of you for coming. I'm going to be around a few more minutes, and I'm glad to have y'all. Thank you.